Hulk Hogan, the passing of Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik gets his revenge. What should I call it?
All of the above.
All right. That was
Welcome
one
back.
watching.
Welcome back to, I guess, a very special episode of the IWAR Network Tubecast. And we're going to be talking about the life of Hulk Hogan. He tragically passed away, I guess, this morning, I would say. And
Yeah.
we're getting
They
reports.
found him this morning, I guess.
Found him this morning, yeah. So this might be a little bit more somber Tubecast than you're probably used to. We'll try to keep it as respectful as we possibly can. It can be difficult for some of us.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start at the beginning. I know for me personally, kind of my first interaction with professional wrestling is Hulk Hogan. I started watching wrestling in late 1986, right when Superstars became a thing, and immediately I was fascinated with Hulk Hogan right off the bat. A real life superhero come to life, at the peak of his powers. He was definitely the man for that period of time. I was a Hulkamaniac.
Did you have your Hulkamania finger and Hulkamania?
I had it all. I had a Hulk-sized headband. I had the Hulk little shirt. I took the Hulk Hogan vitamins. I had the Hulk Hogan teddy bear. I was all in on this guy. Again, everyone knows my love for Rocky and Sylvester Stallone, and seeing Hulk and Rocky, 3 was like fascinating for me. And I think for me, he was just a comic book hero come to life, and he was the first really cartoonish, bright colors, big guy, could move a little bit, tons of charisma. Again, he was just a comic book superhero. It was Superman coming alive for your on your screen, where you can go see him in an arena, or you see him on TV every week or so. It was just amazing to me. It's just throughout the late '80s going into the '90s, and we'll talk about a little bit more in depth about the evolution of the Hulk Hogan character, and where it started, and how it progressed through time. But Matt, what was your first interactions or memories of the Hulkster?
What always pops in my head is I was someone who hated Hogan. Yeah. I wanted the bad guys to beat him. I would get so mad when he would start shaking, like, come on. He'd take the finisher and be like, oh, that's it. He got the power driver by Paul Orndorff. This Mr. Wonderful's going to win. I remember that steel cage match in Toronto where they both jumped off the cage at the same time. And they were like, oh, the slow motion replay, Hogan won. And I was so mad. I rooted for the Heenan family. I remember watching. For me, it was always this conflict of Saturday morning superhero cartoons like Peter Parker, Spider-Man is Amazing Friend,
which is my favorite cartoon of all time, by the way. Just
Swarm, or it was Super Friends, or it wasn't Super Friends for a while. It was the like Challenge Super Friends.
It was Challenge Super Friends. There was the Superpowers team for a while.
That's something up, yeah. And I would flip back and forth. And I would get so mad at Hogan, who'd be like, take your prayers. I'd be like, oh, I want someone to beat him. And I used to love Saturday Night's Main Events because you knew it was going to be a good show.
Yeah.
And I always say that one of my favorite angles in wrestling of all time, without a doubt, like the best like story arc, is the Mega Powers.
Oh, that was one of the best angles ever
So
created.
perfectly done. I mean, having her get him to save Savage, and then the whole and I always felt like that bust up was, in part of it was Savage's intensity, but it felt so real. I mean, I know we were kids, but still, you could identify someone's jealous,
right?
And they're so jealous they destroy a good thing.
And there's enough gray area in there too, where you kind of can see Macho's we can kind of get his point of view on there,
right?
A little bit. Some people say, "Oh, Hogan was the heel in there," but it goes to show you the Hogan character, how it evolved. obviously it started in the AWA when he finally turned face over there. But I think when you look at the early versions of Hulk Hogan, he was a babyface with a heel edge in the beginning. He was someone that, he was a shit kicker. He was someone that would, fight fire with the heels. And you go back and watch the Iron Sheik match when he wins the title. He jumps him before the bell. Like, he beats the piss out of him. Like, he will, he rakes, and that's the first time before that we had Backlund and we had Bruno, who were just, they were good guys, right? But this is a guy that, these guys, Hogan, on the other hand, it's like he's hitting you in the head with a chair. Like, he don't care.
Yeah.
And he was really cool in 1983, 84. He was something completely different coming into the WWF at the time. Because we had Backlund before him, and he's such a departure from Backlund. And you see the elements of that character early on where, like, he's cool. There was a period of time where Hulk Hogan was cool. Now, obviously, as we go through the process here, that goes away, and the character does evolve. Like, he always had a patriotic spin to it a little bit, but that wasn't big until after Slaughter left. Slaughter was doing that.
Right.
So, Slaughter was doing the flag matches with Nikolai, and he's fighting the Sheik, and Hogan wasn't really doing that. And if you look at Hogan's first year as champion, he's not even there a whole lot. He's still in Japan. Like, he's going back and forth to Japan. He doesn't have any big feuds. Like, he has matches with, like, Dr. D. David Schultz, Matt Superstar, Big John Studd, but he's not any big angles. The big angles at 84 is it's Snooker and Piper, and it's Sheik and Slaughter. Those are the two angles in 84 that are really big. And Hogan's just like, I'm just a champ getting wins all the time. It wasn't, and it's funny when we look at even going into WrestleMania, that first feud. The feud starts off where it's Cyndi Lauper and Albano, and then Piper gets involved, right? And then Piper kicks Cyndi Lauper, and then Mr. T gets involved. And Hulk Hogan's like the sixth guy on this. Like, he's like the sixth most important, because he's just the champion, right? So he's like the sixth most important guy in this angle here. It's like, no, the whole angle is it's Piper leading the way. It's Piper and T, and Hogan's just kind of this, the third wheel on this angle. They added, Paul Orndorff and what have you in there. But it wasn't until after that they start going into the Piper matches, and then eventually, feuding with Bundy is when Hulkamania starts, like, okay, I'm the top guy. I'm going to fight all the behemoths and what have you. So that changes over time. Then eventually we get to 86 when we have the Orndorff turn, which is amazing. Yeah. And again, it's another thing too, where like you can kind of see Orndorff's point of view here a little bit. Like he's kind of right. Because that Orndorff standing in for Hogan, like there's a big. The funniest thing, I wish they would have mentioned this on TV, but they didn't. Is Orndorff is the pitch man for the Hulk Hogan workout set. Like, if you watch the commercial, it's Orndorff, but it's not Hogan. Like, what the hell? Like, he's definitely, they definitely put him in a spot where he's Hulk Hogan's second banana, so you can see why he's getting mad. And then the Hogan character starts to change. He gets more patriotic. He gets more bombastic as we get through the process. And he goes through he goes through Bundy. He goes through Orndorff. And I think the real change comes across for him, at least in my opinion, when it starts with Andre. Is we get the completely Hulk Hogan egomaniac. So he beats Andre, but if you watch 87, like you watch pre-Andre, post-Andre, that's when Hogan's at his the cocaine's hitting hard. He is the war bonnet, and he's completely insane as the rest of 87 after he beats Andre, and that's when you get that's when I guess you get when people start turning on Hogan. He's lame. He's not cool anymore.
I will tell you, I never liked him. I actually, when Nancy and I were dating, one of our early fights or scuffles was she wrote a letter to PWI or one of those magazines, and it got in there and it was how much she loved Hulk Hogan, and I was like, what? How do you? And she's like, he was her favorite wrestler, and it just was a point of, I'm a Ric Flair guy, Four Horsemen, come on. And again, I always think that, that superhero approach was that NWA was the more gritty, realistic style, blood and guts. But WWE had the more high profile glitz and glam, and
It always makes
the
me
matches.
wonder. It makes me wonder when, like, you take AWA and early WWF Hogan and put him in the NWA with his style, with his proto, strong and New Japan style. Like, he
Yeah,
wasn't a bad worker. Everyone's seen him in those Japanese matches doing crazy
right.
shit. You know what I mean? He has like three maneuvers that like everyone goes wow, but like he was never going to work like Brett. He was never going to work like the guy's 6'8", 302 pounds. Like,
Right.
seriously, like you really want? He's a big guy. Before that, he was a common Andre the Giant opponent. Like he was just another
Right.
guy that Andre would beat. It'd be Stud. It'd be Don Leo Jonathan. It would be Haystacks Calhoun and Gorilla Monsoon that fight Andre. Like Hogan was on the list of guys that just gets beat up by Andre because he's 6'8".
Yeah.
So like, do you really expect him to have like the same matches that a Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair would have? No.
Right.
It would imagine him trying to do like a sunset flip. It looked ridiculous.
I think for me it was more I mean it's the thing too, like remember with Bret Hart and the 5 moves of doom, but like once you identified the kind of the pattern of the matches, and that's the thing I always thought, like I remember, I think it was The Rock, no, it was Warrior.
Yeah.
He was like the first guy to sit up and avoid the leg drop. Like, oh my god, I would have liked to see more variety, and I think maybe on the house shows you probably saw it because they probably were like, no one's watching, let's try stuff.
But you can see how much Hogan was influenced by Dusty. You got to remember, Hogan grew up in Tampa watching Dusty Rhodes, and the Hulk up is straight up Dusty. Like the finger, that's all Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
So there's a Dusty Rhodes element to Hogan. Obviously, there's a superstar Billy Graham component to Hogan, but I think what people don't realize is that and the most interesting thing about Hogan when he talked about it, he talked about it really rarely, was Hulk Hogan the wrestling fan. Because I've heard him on some podcasts, and like he gives you all the Hogan bullshit, like the Hogan, like the Hogan shenanigans, like, which we'll get into a little bit later. But then I think he did Bischoff's podcast one time, and then he switched to like, oh, I'm wrestling fan Terry Bollea. And he was talking about like going to the Tampa Armory and watching Dusty Rhodes and Jack Briscoe and all this shit. And it was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And he was so much more relatable when he talks about wrestling as a fan than talking about wrestling as Hulk Hogan. It's completely. Right. So go back and watch those if anyone get a chance. Watch like the Bischoff one is probably the best example where he's just talking about, yeah, I love Dusty Rhodes. He's awesome. Like, oh shit, okay.
I don't know if you're watching your local news tonight, but like the local news here, I'm always curious how many people, like, if you watch the local news, how many of their anchors went, brother?
Oh, for sure. But that was a Billy Graham thing, and Billy Graham got that from like going to tent revivals and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole brother thing.
Yeah. So it was funny that they actually talked to the wrestling school that I went to, which is now called Chaotic University, or whatever, in North Andover, and they had them, and it was just like so random. Like, we talked to a local wrestling school, like it's like they wanted somebody who they could talk to. Like, there's so many people they could have talked to in the area about it besides that, but it was cool. But like the announcers, and we have a couple of notes here from Derek saying, Van Dusty Rhodes. Again, I think for me as a fan, I hated Dusty Rhodes when I was a fan before I got in the ring, but once I started learning to wrestle, I appreciated him 1,000 times more. Because
Dusty Rhodes is his copy of Rufus R. Jones anyway.
Rufus R. Jones.
Yeah. So like, Dusty was a little Rufus and a little Thunderbolt kind of mixed together.
Yeah. So but talking about mega powers, and then it says here, the influence, absolutely. I think of people always say like, well, Flair influenced more people than Hogan, but the thing is, for Flair, like you said, like anybody who's like, let's say 6 feet, 6'2" and under, can probably wrestle a style like Flair. Not everyone can do what Hogan could do.
No.
The power.
No, because you see guys like Scott Hall said Hogan was his influence. Kevin Nash, 7 feet tall. Obviously, he's an influence. Like those guys like went to see wrestling as in their early 20s and saw Hulk Hogan. It's like, well, I can't do what like Jack Briscoe does, but I can do what Hulk does,
right?
And it influenced him to get into the business.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Like that saying, you can't teach that. Can't teach size, right? Well, true, but you also have a hard time like charisma is one of those things that you have it or you don't. Like some guys have gotten better, but like most people that like have charisma have it out of the gate.
Yeah.
You know, I was saying like at work, like when you interview someone for a job opening, you probably know in the first minute if it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like a date. You know, you go on, you eat. Well, wrestlers sometimes same way. Like when you watch a wrestler for the first time, within a minute or so, you probably can tell what they're like. And you see a promo, absolutely. Some people cut promos.
The big thing I think people should go back and watch that 1982 Johnny Carson interview. Yeah, this is pre-Hulkamania. Like this is like 82. This is early.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize how big of a star. Like Hulk Hogan was the biggest star in wrestling before he got to the WWF. Like he was hot already.
Was that when he was in WrestleMania? Rocky 3.
So he did Rocky 3. He does Rocky 3. They turn him face in AWA and he explodes. And he's big in Japan too. Like the earliest video game appearance of Hulk Hogan is from this wrestling game from '84, like right before he goes to WWF. So he is a video game appearance pre WWF. He's in a couple of animes as a background character, just because he's just there. He exists because he was such a big. He was like the biggest star in Japan at the time too. Like it's amazing, and you know, obviously the moment he walks to WWF, you know it's going to work. Like it's like all right, this is right off the rip. It's like oh my god, the guy has 2 matches and wins the belt. They throw the belt on him immediately.
Yeah, yeah, but, and if it wasn't Hulk Hogan and Rocky 2, Rocky 3, who would it have been?
I think he was looking at it was actually Terry Funk who recommended Hulk.
Yeah.
Because Stallone and Terry Funk are friends. And I think he was on the list. I don't think they really went through the list of who else was, in contention for that. But again, it's Stallone watching WWF, watching like, Inoki versus Ali. How do I incorporate this into the Rocky universe? Or even, what was it, Chuck Wepner versus Andre the Giant, right? That was a real thing. Boxing versus wrestling matches were hot at the time. So that's Stallone looking at a real life scenario and seeing like, this guy's 6'8", looks fantastic. I mean, how would you not cast him in that? Like it's amazing. Like Kerry Von Erich was supposed to be Ivan Drago. Like that was a thing. Like they were working on that. Like that. Wow. Which is like, Stallone always had a thing for wrestlers. And my dream match would have been Hulk Hogan versus Terry Funk WrestleMania 2 with Stallone as a special guest referee. That's my dream match. And Los Angeles. It would have been fantastic. But even like we talked about Terry Funk, look at the amazing Hulk Hogan versus Terry Funk matches, especially the one Saturday Night's Main Event. Like that's amazing. Like it's good.
I've always felt that we witnessed the explosion of wrestling, and again, I remember days when you could come home, you could watch. On like a weekend, you could watch probably 7 different promotions. And
we did.
Was great to see.
Especially here. I think us in the Northeast, and then the folks in like in the Atlanta area, like we got a lot of wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And it was weird too. Like I remember we had a channel at the Business Network, and for whatever reason,
that's where you watch your Hawaii wrestling on there.
No, it was Jerry Lawler. It was like
you had Memphis on
Memphis, and I don't know why we got Memphis. And we also got a weird channel, and we had for some reason it was like North Georgia Wrestling, and it was Tommy Rich fighting the Masked Assassin.
Of course, it was
in like a bar, and it was like the bar had a space like set aside for wrestling, the ring, and it was just So you're watching the match, and every so often they cut to an angle, you see a bunch of guys in this bar. Like, all right. But that was the thing about wrestling back then. It was great to like have all these influences, and then you had like the big leagues with WWE and Hogan. I think kind of one thing I always think gets lost sometimes is when he turned heel and became the new Hollywood Hogan. Who did he drop the leg on?
Savage.
Randy Savage. I just felt like that was such a good callback. Like,
well, because they've been feuding. Like they feuded in '85. They feuded in '86. They feuded in '87. They didn't feud in '88, but they feuded in '89. Feuded in '90.
Yeah.
Feuded in WCW. Like that was, and they had great chemistry. Like those two together were amazing. I don't think they ever had a bad. Oh, they've had a bad match, but that's WCW. That's that. I think it was Halloween Havoc in that giant cage. That was pretty shitty. But otherwise, they had WWF. I don't think they ever had a bad match. Even the house show matches are phenomenal.
Here's the Derek brought up a good point here about Hogan and Dusty being on the mic for his flair. One thing I would say is think of like some of the biggest stars. Almost all the biggest stars ever had really strong charisma.
Yeah.
And I was telling a guy the other day at work, we were talking about like stars who like made it big but weren't really great on the mic. And I said, I think the one always comes to mind is Ultimate Warrior. He was just bizarre. You know, like
He's Goldberg.
He was just Goldberg. Oh my God.
Like they got popular for like no reason. like they didn't talk good. The matches weren't great. They just got over it for whatever reason.
Well, I think when you have Papa Shango curse you, you know,
well, that's a whole other story. But you know, like for me, for years I couldn't watch that WrestleMania 6 match because I was very upset that he lost. And I never liked the Ultimate Warrior, so I was like, "Fuck this guy." And I think that hurt Warrior. I think if they would have transitioned to either DiBiase, Bad News Brown, or Savage, and had Warrior beat them instead of Hogan, I think maybe Warrior's title run wouldn't have failed. Because I think me specifically, I can tell you, I resented Warrior for beating him. So I wasn't cheering Warrior when he had the championship at all.
Do you think it would have been a strong? Let's say for example, they give you a thing like DiBiase has the belt.
Yeah.
He does something where they take Hogan out and like Savage gets his title shot.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna win it for you, champ, and he wins it.
Yeah.
And then you, of course, you know, this mega power still explode, but you have. I think you're right. Like I think the right guy probably would have been Earthquake at the time. Like Earthquake would have put out Hogan. Warrior wins it. Hogan comes back for, you know, he gets his revenge on Earthquake or whatever, and then they go from there. But I don't know. I don't think that helped Warrior. I think it hurt him. And it's funny to me as a kid too when Slaughter beat Warrior, and then we had the WrestleMania 7 match. I was convinced that, well, in my kid logic was like, well, Warrior beat Hogan, Slaughter beat Warrior. There ain't no fucking way that Hogan can beat Slaughter. and Slaughter's threatening. He's like, well, I'm just gonna get myself disqualified, or I will get counted out. I don't care. You know, Hulk rules. What about Slaughter's rules? Do you remember where you like WrestleMania 6? I remember we were at a friend's house. There was like 8 of us watching because his dad got the pay-per-view somehow, whatever. Yeah. And we watched, and of course, I, being the guy who hated Hogan, was like happy Warrior won, but I also didn't like Warrior.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'll take it. I wish it was Paul Orndorff instead, but it wasn't. You know,
Savage. It would have been. It probably. If it wasn't Andre, it probably. We talk about title runs, reigns in between. Like it's because wrestling's so different right then, right? So it's so completely different. So nowadays, Earthquake would have been a 2-time champ. Bad News Brown would have won it at least once. Beefcake probably would have won it once. Orndorff would have won it. Rude would have won it. Because wrestling is so different today. So you can't use today's logic back then. It's like, but realistically speaking, the only person that was there that could translate from Hogan the Warrior would have been Earthquake or Randy Savage at
the time. Yeah, it is funny to think about like how today's business. Like, how would they be if Hogan was being? I mean, like, granted, we don't have a Hogan per se right now. We have, I guess, the closest to a Hogan. I think Roman Reigns. I mean, I'm not even really.
It's tough. It's because it's so different. It's just so different. Did we ever see Hogan? I've met Hulk Hogan. I met Hulk Hogan at the New York City Comic Con. I got 2 Hogan stories. So I got to meet him, and he's like, I can see why people love him. Like when you meet him in person, because he makes you feel like you're the only person in that room. So he gives you his undivided attention for the 30 seconds to a minute that you're interacting with him. It's like, holy shit. And like you leave there like you're just stunned. Like I was almost speechless. So got to meet him at the New York City Comic Con. Got my copy of WrestleMania 1 autographed. When I was in what was it? It was WrestleCon, WrestleMania 29. So me and my buddy are there, and we're getting autographs. At that point, it was like, Hogan was sold out, so we weren't gonna be able to see Hogan. So I was like, all right, so we're getting everyone else. I'm getting like Raven, I'm getting Kevin Nash, I'm getting Tommy Dreamer, whoever. So my friend's like, I gotta use the bathroom. I really gotta use the bathroom. So he goes to the men's room, but there's two bodyguards like out front. They wouldn't let him in. He's like, please, man, I really gotta go. He's like, the Hulkster's in there. He's like, man, please, I really have to go. And from the stall, you can hear Hulk Hogan say, "It's all good, brother. Let him on in." And my friend went in there, took a leak. He said it smelled terrible in there.
Oh, no. Oh.
But my first wrestling match ever was Hulk Hogan taking on Hercules Hernandez at the Nassau Coliseum. So I got to see him there. Obviously, I've seen him in a couple WrestleManias and what have you. I went back to Nassau Coliseum in 1990. He wasn't there in 92 when I was there. He wasn't at WrestleMania 20, but we didn't. I got to see him a couple different times.
I saw him at Boston Garden. I saw him fight Earthquake. I saw him in a tag match. I want to say it was Tugboat.
That makes sense.
It was before he turned on him.
So was it him and Tugboat versus Earthquake and Dino Bravo?
Maybe. I have the sheet somewhere. But over the years I went to a few different shows, and he was. I remember Power and Glory. I have to go back and look at these, but it was again, rooting against Hogan, and the fans around me. I swear to God, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, our friends that would go to the shows, right? There was something about it. Whenever we went to shows, they always sat people who were special either in front of us or behind us.
Yeah.
And that's not, I don't care about that per se, but they would get so mad because we were rooting against Hogan. And oh my God, it was just comical. But, watching the kids, and I think that's the thing too. I want to say when I saw him at the Garden, it was also at one point the era of the helmet. Remember the helmet he had with the fist on it?
The war bonnet when he murders Harley Race and ends his career.
I don't know why that was.
So in kayfabe, basically what happens is Hulk Hogan's so mad that he lost the belt to Andre the Giant that he murders Harley Race. And that basically, for the most part, he comes back in Royal Rumble '89, but Harley Race is done. He puts him through a fucking table and shit, or Harley Race put himself through a table, whatever. But same concept.
Oh, the headbutt?
Yeah, he missed it. I guess the table broke it broke up instead of down, and ripped up whatever his shit was in there.
Oh boy!
But that's what they started saying. Hulk Hogan was so upset that he beat the shit out of Harley Race.
I mean, seeing Hogan live was fun. I'll never forget. We used to have a thing here at the Nesson, New England Sports Network, which is the Red Sox network.
Yep.
They used to show when WWE came to the Boston Garden, they would show a month after at the taping of it.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget
some of us were live. Some we had MSG shows
here. Oh, we didn't get it live, but when Dusty Rhodes, his first match when he came over was against Ted DiBiase, and Dusty comes out, pumps his fist, goes to go to the top turnbuckle and slips and almost falls in the ring. And I was like, Dusty. Oh. So, seeing something like a star live of that power is really fun. I remember my favorite live moment was when Owen Hart was alive. We were at the Lowell Auditorium, and there was a tag match, and it was Owen and somebody against Brett and somebody. And I put my friend on my friend on my shoulders, and we were seventh row in the corner, kind of a really cool seat. And he hit a sign that said, "Who's the shadow now, Brett?" And I have a picture of Owen Hart pointing at us.
Nice.
And that was my favorite live interaction as far as that goes. But the cage match.
So at a certain point in Hogan's career, he starts getting, I guess, way over the top. I'm talking about probably 91 going into 92, where at that point I'm I'm not into Hogan, I'm into Brett now. IC champion Brett. I'm really into Brett, and kind of, Hogan's been my favorite wrestler for like upwards of 6 years, and I'm just not feeling him anymore. I think the big indictment is that Royal Rumble '92, where they're just booing him out the building. Like they cheered when Sid Vicious eliminates him. For Christ's sakes, like it was rough, and I think it was fatigue, and I think his shtick got old. He was very 1985 in a 1992 world. You know what I mean? So
Hogan just murdered Boss Man?
He did just murder Boss Man.
Oh my God! Look at the blood. That from that bump.
He was choking him on the cage beforehand.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll say this with Hogan. I mean, I rooted against him almost this whole entire time. I liked when he turned heel because it was just a phenomenal moment.
But he had that weird transitional period too, where like, okay, so he comes back, he beats Yoko, wins the belt, then loses the King of the Ring, and then like, oh, I'm gonna do a Thunder in Paradise. Like I watched the shit. Like I like Knight Rider, I liked Airwolf, and I tried real hard to like Thunder in Paradise, but it was a rough go.
Yeah.
Did Hogan bleed much? Quick question: did Hogan bleed much before WWE? I don't think so. Again, he was billed as a monster heel, so he wouldn't bleed a whole lot. Even when he was fighting like Lawler and shit, so it's like he was just the big guy for those guys to beat. You know my opinion on No Holds Barred. I saw that in the movie theater. You know, Hogan saving chicks from sexual assaults is always high on my list. Hulk Hogan eating at a soul food restaurant is high on my list of guilty pleasures. Dookie is big on that too. So you can almost tell that Vince and Hulk wrote this movie. Like it's like, oh, we're just gonna get our shit in, like because you can see it's very Vince. It's really on the nose because the movie's about Ted Turner trying to lure Hulk Hogan away from the WWF. Like that's the storyline, which would actually happen later on. But that's the storyline in there, and so it's funny to me. Shot in Atlanta too, by the way. So I think that's on purpose. Suburban Commando again. I liked it. Had Undertaker in it. When we get to like the Stand Up with Muscles and Mr. Nanny and it was an Assault on Devil's Island, like those get kind of rough. He makes a cameo appearance in Gremlins 2. He's in there.
Does he really?
He's in there, yeah. And he had commercials too. Like he did a Honey Nut Cheerios commercial. I think the big one was Reichard, and they also be Uncivilized. Like he had his commercials, you know.
Man,
like what was your thought when you first like kind of like WCW started talking about him, and then eventually he makes the jump to WCW?
When he made the jump, it just felt forced. So in a way, like I think he was, in my opinion, I think he was kind of like just nosediving as far as like interest.
Yeah.
There was the Dungeon of Doom thing, right?
Right off the bat, yeah. So he comes in right away, and he beats the shit out of Flair like 4 times in a row, and like retires Flair, which is probably very insulting to the core WCW fans. So he comes in, beats Flair 4 times, and then retires him. I'm actually a big proponent of pre-Hogan. Like, there's an era where Bischoff takes over before Hogan gets there. That's really, really good. It's Eric Bischoff's tribute to the AWA. So if you go back and watch like the '93 going to '94 WCW, like they're doing this, like they're doing fun stuff with Rude on top. You have Rude as lead heel, you had Vader as lead heel. You had the aborted Rude face turn where it was going to fight Vader, that went away. You had Austin on the rise as United States champion. You said Ricky Steamboat there. So there was a lot of fun stuff. Sting's around doing stuff. Again, it's a really fun time, and I know Bischoff does not like that time. But I thought it was really good. Like, if Hogan doesn't come in, it's going to be Austin, Cactus Jack, Dustin Rhodes kind of on top, with Rude and Vader as like kind of the lead heels, with Sting kind of just around. Like that's like if it's felt that where that's going, and then Hogan comes in, that everything immediately changes. So it's like, oh, It's when you're like, I think Duggan comes in a little bit after. Bossman comes in before Hogan gets there. But it's very much like, hey, listen, we got all these guys that like got left in WWF, and we're gonna bring them to WCW. The Dungeon of Doom was like, well, let's play Hulk Hogan's greatest hits. Who's he feuding with? Oh, he's gonna feud with Brutus Beefcake. He's gonna feud with Earthquake. He's gonna feud with Kamala. He's gonna feud with Kamala again. Like, and then it wasn't until it doesn't really get interesting until Savage comes in. Like that shit kind of sucks. Yeah. And then Savage comes in, and okay, now it's like now you have Randy Savage on the side, so it's kind of it gets a little bit more interested because I guess people don't remember is that when they brought Savage in, they didn't know if this would be a heel or face. Like, I don't know if I'm going to slap Hulk Hogan in the face or I'm going to shake his hand. Obviously, he shook his hand. But I think when we get through the process and you get past all the Dungeon and Doom, which I'm a big Dungeon and Doom apologist anyway because I think it's hilarious. Like there's so much like it's not hot vignettes and kind of the wacky shit they were doing and the Tower of Doom where they beat up everybody and Z Gangster Zeus makes an appearance from No Holds Barred and it's completely like it's so over the top and it's so like Hulk Hogan beat everyone's ass. Yeah, but I can definitely see how the fans were getting tired of that and it's like it's gonna wrap and then by the time Nash because they didn't have that decided like Nash and Hall are in and they don't it's I think there's been reports that it's going to be Luger which makes Luger made the most sense by the way on that deal. Or it could have been Brett. I know they were talking to Brett around that time, and they figured out they couldn't get him. So Hogan was like a kind of latch-this expert. Like he just kind of inserted himself in there, and we talk about Hulk Hogan, the politician, a little bit later. But it was definitely necessary, and the thing about it, he was really good at it. Like that heel turn was amazing, and then like he just with the black and the black cross, and he has like the stubble on the beard, and he looked really cool. And he reinvented himself. He made himself cool. Like, and who thought after all these years of Hulk Hogan being corny that he was going to be cool again? And he was. Right. And that NWO shit that set off the wrestling boom. It was the catalyst.
Absolutely, and that like I said, like it kind of took him from being, a
it wouldn't have worked if he would have turned like an 89 or 90 either. Like he had to go through that 5-year period of being a cornball for it to work. It's like the Cena heel turn now. Like he would have, and the difference between the Cena heel turn and the Hogan heel turn is that Cena was like, I'm not going to be cool. I gotta do all the goofy Cena shit. Yeah. Because if I would have been like Hogan and become cool, they're gonna fucking cheer me. So Cena was smart. Like he kept the jean shorts and the colors and all the other nonsense. Where Hogan's like, oh, now I'm cool, and I think Nash says this probably the best is like, we were cool heels, but it was Hogan that got us to heat. Because otherwise they would have cheered us. Yeah. And the reaction to the heel turn, you have people charging the ring from garbage. Like you've never seen that on fucking mainstream wrestling before. Yeah, like guys are rushing the ring and the crowd is throwing garbage in the rings. Like you never this is Puerto Rico. Like what the hell? Yeah, that was the amazing part, and that ran its course, and that petered out towards the end anyway. For a good 2-year, 3-year period, like, he was the highest guy in wrestling. And then after WCW closed, when he comes back to the WWF, hot again. He comes back with the NWO. That seems to be not working as they thought it should. Then he has that fucking match with The Rock, which is like amazing. And at that point, Hogan's washed anyway. Yeah, like he's completely washed up. 2 fucking destroyed knees and.
It was a good, and it's almost, like the perfect example of what to do with a babyface. It's just kind of like worn out their welcome. Yeah. You give a new direction, you get a different, kind of personality, persona. And, it
made the kids that were 7 or 8 when Hogan was on top, and now they're 13, 14, 15. Like, oh, now he's cool. Yeah.
And I think about too is I always loved how Bobby Heenan still hated him.
He's like, oh, he's like, oh, is he the third man? It was like, well, Bobby's supposed to say that.
Yeah.
And the irony of that is like him and Bobby were actually like Bobby had a lot of respect for Hulk.
Yeah.
So he brought Bobby from the AWA because he featured there too.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm just checking if I'm still live. I'm not sure. Do
No.
you see me? Do you see me still up there?
Yeah. Seems all right.
Okay.
But,
always
yeah.
answer.
I was saying earlier before we did the show, like, how did you find out the news about Hogan?
Damn it, Derek! I like my phone chimed. I looked down. I'm like, let me go check Twitter or whatever.
I think it was the chat group for SOS. I'm pretty sure it was. Let me double check here. But I think it was. Let me find it. I don't think it was our chat room with the IWAR locker room. Because it was just one of those things once. That's Ozzy. Yeah. No, it was Jamie Teague. Jamie Patton. Hogan just died, guys. And I was like, whoa. Jimmy's like, I bet he sells it. It's not gonna work for me, brother. The Grim Reaper's gonna go back and try again. But yeah.
You can say what you want about Hogan, but one thing he did, and then it's underrated, is like he got his friends jobs. Yeah. It would be Beefcake or like Duggan, Nasty Boys. Yeah, he's loyal to his people. That's for sure.
Oh man.
It's sad. I think it's a constant reminder. Like when these guys pass away, it's just a reminder that we're getting older. I think that's why people feel a certain way about it. It's like,
right, yeah. Well, I mean, I think too is that his public personal troubles, whatever's.
Well, yeah, we can get into that. I mean, I think.
No, I would say like we don't have to because I feel like that it's one of those things like it's been done to death. The other day I watched news people, right, and they're talking about Ozzy Osbourne, and they were talking to Gene Simmons, and the news lady's like, "Oh yeah, he once bit the head off a bat."
Right.
And I'm like, the dude just died. Like,
the one thing I could never understand about Hogan was his propensity to tell tall tales. Like, dude, you lived like a crazy cool life, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you had all this amazing things happen, and you did all this really cool stuff. Like, did you really have to say like, oh, they want to be from Metallica? Yeah. Or like, I was scouted by the New York Yankees? Like, you're the biggest wrestler on the planet, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to like make any of that stuff up. like I thought that was always kind of, but it goes like he's a normal dude with insecurities and stuff like that. Even though he's one of the biggest stars and made a shit ton of money, that he does have insecurities, and and he does make mistakes. And the way I told someone today that about Hogan's troubles is like he's the cool uncle that you idolized as a kid that became the crazy uncle that would say crazy stuff at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, you still love him, but I was like, you gotta watch that.
Yeah. 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 No, I remember earlier I was just like, we should do a little quick show and get on the air and talk about it.
It's good to talk about it. You know?
Yeah.
Especially someone in that magnitude is like, wrestler deaths. We've gotten accustomed to it, sort of. Since we had so many of them pass away at a young age. You know what I mean? That kind of got numb to it, and like, like the Benoit ones especially, like, and that hurt my fandom. You know what I mean? Like that one really, because he was my favorite wrestler at the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like I was at WrestleMania 20. You know what I mean? So it's like that one really, and I just became a dad at the time too. So it was like it was triple bad.
Right. Yeah.
But that affected my fandom to this day. It's like I can't necessarily watch a like I can't watch wrestling like that like I used to anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's good for us to talk about this because he was someone that Hulk Hogan the character. Uh, it was he's one of those like, in wrestling canon that he's probably the biggest star in the history of wrestling. He's probably like number 2 to The Rock in terms of mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone knows who The Rock is. Everyone knows who, like your grandmother knows who Hulk Hogan was and The Rock is.
Right.
And like in wrestling kayfabe, he's probably 1 or 2. Like Austin could be 1, Hogan could be 2, I guess technically, in kayfabe. But the guy was on Saturday Night Live. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like I think his star, like he was doing TV pilots on the A Team. Like
I forgot about that.
what's funny is like Vince was worried about Hulk like early on. Like he tried to get Devon Eriks. Like I was like, we try to get Devon Eriks, and his idea for that position, like originally he wanted like Dusty Rhodes for that spot.
Oh, okay.
So but Dusty's entrenched with Crockett at the time, so he's not getting Dusty Rhodes. I don't know how Dusty felt. It felt like I could have took that Hogan spot because you always talk about like Hogan is like, could anyone done what he's done at that level? And the answer is probably no, because they couldn't go with Snuka, and they probably could have went with Slaughter, but they didn't. Because Slaughter gets that G.I. Joe deal too, so he's out pretty quickly after that.
G.I. Joe deal, bro.
He does, like, well, because Vince, they did the whole thing where they did the LJNs and G.I. Joes with Hasbro, and then Vince does not like them signing deals with Adam. That's the same thing they got Bundy in trouble. So, so Bundy did the computer. Was it the Macintosh or the Commodore? I forget which computer he did.
Oh, I don't remember. But I think what's a big part of this is that it comes from a time in our life where this was a huge character. Everyone knew it.
Right.
It would be kind of like Ozzy Osbourne dying. Like we all knew
Michael
Ozzy.
Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Yeah.
Michael
somebody.
Remember when Michael Jackson died? It fucking shut down. That's the whole broke the internet came from, was because it shut down my entire store.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like we had no, like it shut down our internet. Like that was so big when Michael Jackson died, and he's pretty close to that level.
Yeah.
Like again,
if it was, let's say, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be because Michael Jackson was still producing and.
Yeah. But it was well now like news travels so fast that you're just on to the next thing real quick, right? This is the nature of social media and what have you, and it sucks. And I feel bad for his kids. I mean, I don't think he was able to become a grandpa. Like I don't think his kids had kids.
Yeah.
So that's sad. He never got to enjoy that part of his life. He did have his controversies. There's the Hogan sex tape that exists. So that's a thing. But again, even like when it comes to privacy and the whole Gawker and TMZ kind of scenarios and that kind of stuff, and he did win that lawsuit.
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting. Best pile driver ever, by the way, Paul Orndorff.
Yes. Well, is there any more questions? Big one for all fans. I would say I if I had to guess, we'll do another one of these for Ric Flair because that's inevitable.
I don't know, man. He might Keith Richardson at this point.
Just won't go down.
Just won't go down.
Yeah, but Yeah. I would say if anyone's watching wants to, now, like, put your comments in the bottom there and let us know
Yeah.
what you think. Well, the first time you saw Hogan, your favorite match, your favorite pop culture product.
For me, I think for me, it's like what I always wanted. I never got it as a kid because and I can't even afford it now. It was the white shirt, LJN Hogan. That one I really, really wanted. I know they re-released it not too long
Yeah.
ago, also, but that's the one thing I never got of his that I wanted. But I had everything: playing cards, autograph pictures. I had the comforter sets. I had a WWF foosball
Oh,
table.
jeez.
Hockey. It was like a hockey thing. It was insane.
All right.
So like I had a WWF birthday party when I was 10. You know, it was it was like that. It was important. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. I have a feeling that Hulkamania will in fact live forever.
There you go.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, man.